When we first open Tableau, we're first presented with a bunch of worksheets that we've already done before, and these are things that I've done in the past, and I could open up in these individual projects. But today we want to start a new project, and so what we'll do is we'll start with connecting to a data set. Now I've got this data set stored as a comma separated values file, so just like in Tableau Prep, we're going to navigate to a text file. So I click on this and we navigate down to my data set, which is the student survey comma separated values file, the CSV file. So we're going to open this. Now, the first step in a workflow is we're presented with a data source. And this data source shows me all of the different columns that I've got in this data set. And I can do some rudimentary data wrangling steps in here. So I could change the M's and F's to males and females. I could put a space in here. So there are some data manipulations that I can do inside Tableau as opposed to Tableau Prep, but Tableau Prep is a little bit more full-featured. Oftentimes I'll try to do sort of data cleaning in here, but Tableau Prep is a little bit more full-featured. Once I'm happy with this data set, what we'll do is we'll go to this sheet 1, and these little tabs down here are where we're going to do our actual graphing. So I'm going to go to my very first worksheet and create my very first graph for this data set. Now inside this sheet, we're presented with this layout, and this is where you'll spend a lot of time. To start with, this area over here, this is where you've got all of your categorical variables. So Tableau refers to these as dimensions as opposed to categorical variables, and it refers to your quantitative variables as measures. And you can kind of see that this little hashtag is telling me that this is quantitative and this is categorical. Next, we've got these columns and rows, and these are really defining your x-axis and y-axis, where rows right here is defining my x-axis and columns is defining my y-axis. This is sort of annoying that they refer to them this way, but that's sort of the way it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to start and we're going to grab either one of our variables, either categorical or quantitative, and I'm just going to put it on my x and y axis. So for this one, I'm going to start with, let's say, my year in school, and I'm going to place that as my x-axis. So that's going to be my year, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the number of records, so this is going to be the number of rows, as my y-axis. And I've messed up which axis is which. And this is really common. So once I do that, I'm going to switch the axes right here using this button. And that all it did is switch the order here. And we now end up with a nice little bar chart that shows our first years, our juniors, seniors, and sophomores. And so we end up with a little bar chart. Now, I could add some additional information. So for example, maybe I want to separate these up by gender as well. And I've got a gender over here. Now, instead of putting it here, which would make 8 columns, so males and females for each one of my years, if I want to break it up by color, so instead of doing faceting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it over to these marks right here. And this would have gender being represented by color. This would have gender being represented by size. And there's a few other options in here, but we're just going to do color for the initial bit. And right now we've made a little stacked bar chart where the colors indicate male and female, and the bars are indicating where we are in terms of our years.